Imagine standing in a dazzling yet hauntingly empty royal palace, its marble floors cold beneath your feet. At the end of a vast, glittering hall stands Maria Anna, wrapped in extravagant silks, yet utterly alone. Her frail figure trembles subtly. Beneath the weight of her ornate gown, eyes reflecting not pride, but quiet despair. She isn't simply a queen, she's a victim, a living tragedy shaped by generations of royal incest. Her very existence symbolizes the devastating consequences of her family's obsessive pursuit of bloodline purity. What horrors lie hidden behind her delicate facade? The chilling truth awaits. Imagine traveling back in time to 17th century Europe, where the powerful Habsburg dynasty ruled an empire stretching from Spain and Austria to Hungary. Their authority was unquestionable, their territories seemingly endless, and their royal prestige unmatched across the world. But hidden behind the golden facade of this mighty empire was a dark secret that slowly corroded their various state, their strength and authority. The Habsburg family passionately believed that royal blood was the most precious treasure to be preserved, at any cost. To protect this so-called purity, they repeatedly arranged marriages among close relatives' cousins, marrying cousins. Uncles marrying nieces in an endless, tragic cycle. Yet they failed to understand that these choices were gradually destroying everything they sought to safeguard. Children born from these closely related marriages bore severe consequences, both physically and mentally. Frail, sickly, and weakened by genetic disorders. They struggled under the heavy weight of the roles forced upon them by fate. Maria Anna became one of the most heartbreaking victims of this dangerous obsession, a princess whose birth was not celebrated out of love, but orchestrated out of blind ambition and the misguided beliefs of a dynasty that once symbolized absolute power. Maria Anna's childhood wasn't filled with warmth or joy, but with cold expectations and relentless pressure. From her earliest memories, she was not embraced as a beloved daughter, but groomed as a vital instrument for her family's political ambitions. Tutors rigorously trained her in etiquette, languages, and the subtle art of court intrigue, all preparing her for a destiny she had no say in shaping. There was no room for childish laughter or playful innocence within the palace walls, only strict discipline, constant scrutiny, and whispered reminders of her family's heavy legacy. Her parents viewed her not as a cherished child, but as a chess piece strategically placed on the political board of Europe, her future already meticulously mapped out. When the time came, Maria Anna was thrust into a marriage with Charles II, the frail and sickly king of Spain, whose physical deformities openly revealed the damaging legacy of royal incest. This union wasn't born of love or even genuine affection. It was a desperate gamble aimed at producing an heir to save a collapsing empire. Lavish ceremonies and opulent celebrations masked the heartbreaking reality. Maria Anna was married off to a man so physically debilitated that the hope of an heir was merely an illusion. Each public appearance demanded perfect smiles and carefully choreographed gestures, while behind closed doors both husband and wife endured isolation and humiliation. This marriage, celebrated with royal splendor, was, in truth, a grim attempt to hide the devastating consequences of a dynasty's dangerous obsession. Maria Anna's married life quickly transformed into a daily struggle of humiliation and silent suffering. From the moment she entered Charles's court, she became the target of relentless scrutiny and blame. Though outwardly regal, composed, and seemingly serene, each day behind the palace walls was a harrowing ordeal. The weight of an entire kingdom's expectations pressed heavily upon her shoulders, and whispers echoed relentlessly through palace corridors and crowded streets alike, unjustly accusing her of failing her fundamental duty to produce an heir. Every public appearance became a torturous act, a carefully rehearsed performance intended to mask the bitter truth. Maria Anna endured the stares and murmurs with stoic dignity, hiding the reality of her husband's debilitating condition. Privately, her solitude deepened, trapped in a life dictated by obligation rather than affection. Surrounded by courtiers who regarded her only as a vessel to sustain the dynasty. Each night brought overwhelming despair as she confronted the emptiness of her marriage. Her inability to conceive became a public indictment, a cruel punishment delivered daily by judgmental eyes and sharp tongues. Yet no one openly acknowledged the truth. Charles's frail health made fatherhood impossible. Maria Anna bore the humiliation silently, internalizing the kingdom's blame as her own private shame. Painfully aware that her entire existence had become a bitter lie, orchestrated by royal obsession and desperation. Behind closed doors, the severity of Charles II's deteriorating health was undeniable and harrowing. His fragile body, already burdened from birth by generations of royal inbreeding, visibly deteriorated day by day. His face bore the infamous Habsburg jaw, painfully prominent and distorted, making basic actions like speaking or chewing an agonizing struggle. Maria Anna watched helplessly, her heart breaking silently each time he tried and failed to conceal his suffering. Charles's infirmities went far beyond physical pain. He carried a deep psychological torment, haunted by the pressure of producing an heir he knew he physically could not deliver. Doctors administered futile and often brutal treatments, leaving him weaker and more despondent. Each night, Maria Anna sat quietly by his side, listening to his labored breaths, witnessing his silent anguish. Yet, outside the privacy of their chambers, she was forced to bear the blame. Her reputation unjustly tarnished by accusations that cruelly ignored her husband's tragic reality. The entire court, blind to Charles's condition, saw only Maria Anna's supposed failure. She became a scapegoat, unjustly shouldering responsibility for the dynasty's imminent collapse, powerless against the relentless accusations. She felt isolated and trapped in a twisted narrative constructed by those unwilling or unable to face the truth. The tragedy of Charles's failing health became her hidden nightmare, a painful secret she was forced to carry alone, deepening her despair and hopelessness each passing day. On a bleak autumn day in 1700, within the ornate but lifeless chambers of the royal palace in Madrid, King Charles II of Spain drew his last breath. His passing was quiet, almost unnoticed. Its implications echoed thunderously throughout Europe. Charles left behind no heir, no successor to the vast, powerful empire he had inherited. Final, devastating consequence of generations of royal incest. With his death, the carefully concealed fragility of the Spanish monarchy exploded into full view. Maria Anna, the queen who had endured a lifetime of emotional torment, suddenly found herself at the epicenter of a violent political storm. Overnight, she became the face of Spain's catastrophic failure, blamed unfairly by nobles, courtiers, and commoners alike. Whispers turned to shouts, accusations reverberating through palace halls and city streets, branding her as the queen who failed to secure an heir, condemning her for the looming collapse of a dynasty. Politicians and foreign powers, sensing opportunity, amidst the chaos, circled the weakened kingdom like vultures. Europe's greatest dynasties, the Bourbons of France, the Habsburgs of Austria, prepared to fight tooth and nail for the vacant Spanish throne. Maria Anna watched in horror as the empire she had struggled so desperately to preserve unraveled, descending swiftly toward violent conflict. The War of the Spanish Succession erupted swiftly and ferociously, engulfing Europe in brutal warfare that would last more than a decade. Battlefields stretched from the rolling plains of the Netherlands to the sun-baked fields of Italy. Towns burned, thousands perished, and generations suffered. Maria Anna, now more isolated and despised than ever, lived trapped in an oppressive atmosphere of blame and grief. Though she had no control over the circumstances that shaped her life, she bore the full weight of Europe's rage, hatred, and frustration. Every passing day deepened her sorrow. Her royal gowns now felt heavier, the palace halls darker and colder, each whispered accusation sharpening her sense of injustice and loneliness. Even the grandeur around her became a cruel mockery, symbols, not of power, but of the hollow legacy of a dynasty that had destroyed itself from within. As the empire fractured, Maria Anna became a living symbol of human arrogance, the disastrous belief that royalty could defy nature itself. Charles's death had not only sealed Spain's fate, but had revealed to all the true cost of royal ambition gone unchecked. The Queen's personal tragedy was now fully entwined with the broader narrative of Europe's suffering, her private pain, mirrored in the devastation consuming nations. Standing alone amidst the ruins of her adopted kingdom, Maria Anna was forced to confront a brutal truth. Her life's tragedy had been set in motion generations before her birth. In palaces where powerful men and women believed they could control nature without consequence. The war, the death, the endless suffering, these were the bitter harvests of seeds planted long before her first breath. Harvested mercilessly in her lifetime, Maria Anna spent her remaining years shrouded in silence and sorrow, stripped of influence. By the very nobles who once praised her, she wandered the echoing corridors of the Escorial like a living ghost, each tapestry and marble statue reminding her of promises that power could not keep. Nights were the worst, memories of court gossip, Charles's tortured breaths, and battle reports from a continent in flames circled her mind until dawn. She carried two unbearable weights: private grief for a husband she had never been allowed to love, and public blame for an empire's downfall she had never truly ruled. Yet her tragedy outgrew the woman herself. In salons from Vienna to Versailles, philosophers and pamphleteers invoked Maria Anna as a symbol of royal arrogance, proof that crowns and titles mean nothing when set against the immutable laws of nature. Her story whispered through the next generations like a cautionary hymn. True strength lies not in bloodlines or borders, but in compassion, humility, and respect for life's inborn limits. Look closely, and you see that lesson still flickering. In modern headlines, whenever ambition eclipses humanity, ruin follows. Maria Anna's lonely twilight urges us to weigh our own pursuits, personal, political, or national, against the quiet cost paid by real people. Power unmoored from empathy devours itself from within. That, more than any battle or treaty, is the enduring legacy of the last Spanish Habsburg queen, a solemn reminder that greatness measured without mercy is, inevitably, a mirage.